Hello and welcome to Movies You Miss Podcast. How's it going today, John?
Doing well. How are you today, V?
I'm doing great. I had a wonderful time with the family for Thanksgiving. Probably gained some weight.
Oh, yeah.
Because I ate everything in sight.
That is how it's supposed to go. And I definitely feel that I will be drinking water for the next week. No caloric intake.
No. I love Thanksgiving. It is my all-time favorite holiday. And as anybody who's listened to this podcast knows why, because I'm very food motivated.
Yes. I also am very food forward. I'm constantly thinking about what I'm going to eat next. It's a problem.
That's funny.
But it's a good, tasty problem.
I'm thinking about the burrito I'm about to eat after we're done recording.
Burrito? Yum. I haven't had a burrito in a minute.
So we both hope you all had a great Thanksgiving week as well, in whatever form that took. Hope you were surrounded by people whom you love. Hope you had a chance to eat some great food from whatever cuisine you ate. And we welcome you back in the post-Thanksgiving coma that we both have to discuss more movies.
Absolutely, yes. And oddly enough, throughout the Thanksgiving week, I didn't really watch a whole lot of new stuff. It was mostly re-watching a lot of classic movies with the family. A lot of football, too, because there's always the Thanksgiving Day football game. My father likes the NFL.
Yeah, and I had the same experience with movies this last week because, again, like you said, being with family, you have to watch family-friendly movies or
yes.
what have you. So definitely kept it on the tamer side, and we'll need to watch our upcoming movies in the next week instead.
Agreed, indeed.
So for this week, we decided to pick not only our very first Tom Cruise episode of the podcast, which is very exciting for us because we are huge fans of his, as we've both learned through the creation of this podcast.
Yes,
we never realized before that we were big fans of his. But also, we decided to pick two movies that deal with time, specifically repeating the same event or same day over and over again. Mm-hmm. And so, now that you're either no longer with friends or family and Thanksgiving is over, maybe you've been replaying conversations over and over in your head the last few days because of what happened last week. And so if that is the case, this is the episode for you.
You are in the right place. You are in the right place. You are in the right place. You are in the right place.
Exactly.
See what I did there?
That was perfect. Nicely done.
That was no editing, folks. That was me. That was John doing it all on his own.
The comic genius that you are.
Oh, yes. Most definitely. Get me up on stage at the Laugh Factory immediately.
That was awesome. Unlike the people in these movies, we don't have unlimited takes to make this podcast great. Hopefully we'll still give you a good episode this week. And it's going to start off with John's pick.
Oh, all right. Here we go. Let's get into it. I really like this movie quite a bit. I chose the 2011, directed by Duncan Jones, written by Ben Ripley, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Michelle Monaghan, Vera Farmiga, and Jeffrey Wright. This is Source Code. This movie is awesome. This is such a killer fucking movie. And for those that have not seen Source Code, I'm going to do my best to not give it away because it's difficult to explain this movie. It just is. It's a tough one to explain. Basically, like how V had mentioned earlier, we relive the same day over and over in Source Code. It's very reminiscent of Groundhog Day and V's choice that we're going to discuss in a little bit. Source Code takes the idea of Groundhog Day and reliving the same day over and over to new heights, though. We meet Coulter Stevens on a train, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. He is sitting across from Michelle Monaghan. She is already in mid-conversation with Coulter Stevens. He is very disoriented. He doesn't know exactly why he's there. All he knows is that he was just in Afghanistan flying a helicopter. He wakes up on this train, and all of a sudden, something very terrible goes down on this train after about 8 minutes. We find out that he actually is embodying somebody else. And every time he wakes up after this event, he is in a capsule, and he is talking to another person. This person is Colleen Goodwin. She's played by Vera Farmiga. Vera Farmiga actually took this role because she just had gotten pregnant and knew that over the course of her pregnancy, she likely wouldn't be getting a lot of work. Vera Farmiga is pretty much good all the time. I've never been like, she was okay. Like, I usually really like
No,
her.
she's great.
Farmiga.
She's great.
And she is gorgeous, too. She is, wow. I really like her eyes quite a bit. I met her very briefly at the Orphan premiere years and years ago when I was going to school in New York to become a certified editor on Avid Systems and Final Cut Pro Systems. I had gotten clips of a movie that she was in called Down to the Bone, and she won the Sundance Grand Jury Prize for Best Actress for it. And I don't think it actually got like a theatrical release. It might have. I think it came out in 2004 or 2005. And when I met her at the Orphan premiere, it was very brief. I was like, oh, Ms. Farmiga, I really loved Orphan. I actually cut a trailer for Down to the Bone a couple of years ago. And she was like, no kidding. And then I had continued walking because I was, heading out of the theater. And she was being bombarded by Joel Silver and everybody else that was just like, Vera, the movie was amazing. Anyway, Coulter Stevens wakes up in this capsule. He's talking with Colleen Goodwin. She is asking him a whole bunch of questions just right off the bat. Like, what did you see? What time was it? Who was on the train? Did you stop it? Did you stop the event? And we're slowly coming to find out that Coulter Stevens is actually now part of this experimental government program that they are using people, soldiers in particular, to find and stop terrorist events. And the terrorist event in this movie is a bomb is going to go off on one of the commuter trains into Chicago. And so every time Coulter Stevens is thrust back onto this train, he has to find clues and, see who's using a cell phone right before the bomb goes off, see who's walking to the bathroom before the bomb goes off. He has to find the bomb. He has to find the bomber. He has to do this. He has to do that. So it's a very anxiety-driven film, and it's a very intense film, too. The cool thing about Source Code is it really does not let up from the get-go. Like, it starts hard, and it continues on going harder. And it's a PG-13 rating. It's not a super violent movie. It's just a bit disturbing because every time the bomb goes off, we're treated to people getting blown up or people dying. And there's one sequence, especially like when actually my favorite part of the movie that always puts me in like a dream-like feeling when I'm watching this movie is when he's starting to have a bit of a breakdown and Michelle Monaghan is trying to calm him down. And he says, "Can you just tell me everything's going to be okay?" And she looks at him and she says, "Everything is going to be okay." And then there's no music, there's no audio, there's nothing, and the bomb goes off. And there's just something so poetic. I don't know why, but I love that moment in that movie. The way that scene is put together and it's acted, and the way that Duncan Jones really conveyed a lot of sheer dread, for this character, and because he knows what's going to happen. He knows that everybody's about to die, and he has not been able to stop it yet. As the movie progresses, he gets more and more clues. He gets off the train a couple of times to actually try and stop this whole experiment going. He's trying to kind of lead his own life in this little section of the world, which was also interesting to me. Like, he grabs Michelle Monaghan, they get off the train, and one of the reasons why they get off the train is because he thinks he has found the terrorist, and he starts, bothering people on the train and outside of the train at the train station. Like, what? Who are you calling? Who are you on the phone with? And like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, who the hell are you? Again, the movie is very much full of anxiety, but it's also so fascinating, and every time he is thrust back into this capsule, you can see how much frustration is going on in Coulter Stevens because he's still not being given everything. He's still not getting all the information from Colleen Goodwin. And Dr. Rutledge, who's played awesomely by Jeffrey Wright, and if anybody knows who Jeffrey Wright is, he was most recently in the Westworld TV show, which a lot of people really liked. I think he's in The Batman also with Robert Pattinson, if I'm not
Commissioner
mistaken.
Gordon.
Is he Commissioner Gordon? Oh,
He
awesome.
is.
I still
He's
have
awesome
to watch
as
that damn movie.
Commissioner Gordon. I love Jeffrey Wright so much.
Yeah,
and
he's
it was
great.
great seeing him in this movie.
He has had quite the resume, and he always brings it. I always really enjoy his work.
Me too.
So without giving too much more away of this film, that is the gist of it. It is a variation on Groundhog Day and Vee's film and a couple other films that really utilize the, reliving the same thing over and over again. And in a strange way, I like this movie mainly because he gets to do it over again. And there's that one little hope and, thought in the back of my mind that even after I might die, I might be able to try again, and that kind of goes back to like Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks. There's a movie where he dies and he has to defend himself and his decisions before he gets, to move forward and go to heaven, or he gets sent back to Earth. So oddly enough, with this film in particular, there's a lot going on, and there's definitely some dread because of the fact that he's trying to stop a terrorist attack. And he's still, like I had mentioned just a few minutes ago, he's still not entirely sure what's really going on. He starts asking Colleen Goodwin if his father is aware that he's involved in this program. His name is Captain Coulter Stevens. He gives her his serial number. He's like, the last thing I remember, I was flying a helicopter in Afghanistan, and now I'm here. I really don't understand what's going on. So, every now and then, Vera Farmiga's character will go to Jeffrey Wright and be like, I have to give him something. He's not, he's not going to help us out if we don't give him any more. So Jeffrey Wright, keeps releasing little bits of information to him about exactly where he is, what he's trying to do, and what this experimental government program is hoping to accomplish, which is it's a mind fuck, like, could you imagine like if there was a government facility where they're using people very similar to like the Matrix, I guess, in a way, like they shove the thing in the back of their head and they're in the quote unquote real world and they're trying to stop the agents, whereas in Source Code he's trying to stop a terrorist attack on a train, and he gets to relive those 8 minutes every few minutes to try and stop this from happening. And the unfortunate reality is, you likely will not be able to stop things. And I really like that aspect about it, because it would be fascinating to be thrust upon some scientific experiment and being told that you have to stop a terrorist attack. It's almost like a video game, in a way.
What is the source code?
It's quantum mechanics, parabolic calculus. It's very complicated.
Try me.
Fine. When a light bulb's turned off, there's an afterglow, a lingering halo-like effect. You seen it?
Yes.
Of course. The brain is like that. Its electromagnetic field remains charged just briefly, even after death. Circuits remain open. Now, there's another peculiarity about the brain. It contains a short-term memory tract that's approximately 8 minutes long, like a convenience store security camera that only records the last portion of the day's activity on its hard drive. Now, in combining these two phenomena, circuitry that remains viable post-mortem and a memory bank that goes back 8 minutes, Source Code enables us to capitalize on the overlap. Sean Fentress died on that train. Of all the passengers aboard, he was your best link. You two share compatibility in terms of gender, body size, and your synaptic maps.
What happens after the 8 minutes?
After, nothing. You cease to exist on the train. You cannot exist inside the source code beyond Fentress's 8 minutes. Source code is not time travel. Rather, source code is time reassignment.
And I thought that Jake Gyllenhaal's performance was really, really fucking good in this movie, as was everybody. And the thing is, it's not a very big cast. There's more background in this movie than there are 1 through 5s on the call sheet. So that was the fascinating thing. Is Russell Peters is in this movie. He's a very prominent stand-up comedian. I've watched his stuff, and it's quite entertaining. He does a stand-up bit in this film also. And on set, he would do like half-hour stand-up sets for the people on the train, during setups and stuff like that. So it seemed like this set was a lot of fun to be on. They shot in Montreal, oddly enough, on a couple of sound stages, and there's very little exterior going on as well in this movie. It really takes place on the train and in this government facility. And some of my favorite parts beyond the train sequences are when we are with Coulter Stevens in this capsule, because it feels very confined. It feels like a fucked up prison that you don't have any say of, this or the other. Like, for whatever reason, like, you don't get to go anywhere. You don't get to eat. They're literally thrusting you into this, again, like I said, video game to stop a terrorist attack, and that's all he's trying to do. But he also wants to get information to his father that he's okay because of his last memory being in Afghanistan where his chopper went down. So we're not sure if Coulter Stevens is actually alive or not, which is another really trippy aspect of this film. So anyway, without giving too much more away before I get into a lot of my production notes and stuff like that, V, I'm curious what you thought. And you've seen this film before, haven't you?
I have, and I actually saw it in theaters as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I really like the intro. We are, as you say, thrust into this storyline mid-conversation, basically.
Yeah.
You are as disoriented as Coulter Stevens is the entire movie. And unlike, say, my movie, where you feel like more of a viewer and you're a little bit more comfortable because you understand what's happening in the storyline and why things are happening the way they're happening. This movie takes you a good 30 minutes to really figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And they shot it that way on purpose. I mean, it was edited that way on purpose to make you be walking in Jake Gyllenhaal's shoes as well, as he's experiencing all these very disorienting events. And as you said, only getting pieces of information, and it's like a puzzle, and he's putting these all together. I really like that. It was definitely a telling versus showing type of movie.
Yes, yeah.
Which is fantastic. And you feel the intense pressure of trying to solve this crime as much as he does the entire movie.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's really a trip. And I, like you said, the way it's shot, it is shot really well. Like, I like the really extreme close-ups that are really, it's in your face. Like, that's definitely the way to put it. It is in your face. All of it. And even when we're in the capsule, like, the crazy thing about the capsule is that he has a little bit of freedom in there. Like, he's walking around. At one point he was strapped up against the wall, and when he starts walking around, even before that, he's only communicating with Colleen through audio, and he sees her on a little video screen. And that also tripped me out, because you're sitting in this capsule and this person is talking to you on the other side of wherever the hell you are, and they're telling you that they're going to send you back in to stop the bomb from going off, and you're like, what the fuck? And then the next thing you know, you're back on the train and you're trying to find the bomb. And then I also really love when he actually does find the bomb, and then he gets back because the bomb ends up going off, and he goes, I found the bomb. It was in the bathroom. I just don't know who planted it or anything like that. I'm like, well, time to go back in. It's almost like a kind of like a 12 Monkeys thing too. How like in 12 Monkeys they shoot him into the future or into the past to stop the army of the 12 Monkeys from taking over the world and killing half the population on the planet. So it's very there's a lot going on in source code that is ripped from other films and science fiction stories, but it's done very well. It's done very meticulously, and I really like that also about the director Duncan Jones, who is David Bowie's son. Mentioned David Bowie.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And the cinematographer, actually, he's got quite the resume, I will say. He his name is Don Burgess, and he has been the DP on Contact, which we have mentioned several times in this series of episodes with us. He has been the DP on 13 going on 30. He did The Polar Express, which is pretty impressive because that's a motion capture film. He did Christmas with the Cranks. He actually was also DP on Disenchanted, just came out this last weekend.
Nice.
He was the DP on The Book of Eli, which is, I think Book of Eli is a pretty good flick. Same with Flight with Denzel, so 2 Denzel Washington-led films. He was the DP on Conjuring 2. He was the DP on The Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell, if you watch that on Netflix, which actually was an entertaining film. I liked that one. So this guy's been around and doing some good stuff, and he actually DP'd the live-action Pinocchio with Tom Hanks.
No, you
so
had
it seems
me until
then. He and Robert Zemeckis have been together for a while. He did Forrest Gump and Castaway as well, so he seems to be Zemeckis' DP on hand, and he did a great job with source code. I thought it was very beautifully shot. Like, it is, the color tones and whatnot in source code are really awesome. I really like that it's very data color, if that makes sense. Like a computer color. It has that like hue of, I don't know. I thought it was really beautifully shot.
Yeah, me too. And also the difference between when he gets injected into the event every time, that event coloring is very, very different than the government facility and when he's in a capsule. And so you can differentiate those settings in a really natural way, which I think that they did a great job at.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You're right. There are 3 separate sections of this film that needed to be lit differently, and they did a great job with it.
The only thing that I don't like about this movie, and it's not even strong dislike, it's more of a, man, I think the ending is very questionable.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I really don't like some of the choices they made for the ending.
Interesting.
And I understand why they wrote the ending the way they did. I get what they were trying to do. I just don't really agree with it.
All right, I get you. I can understand that. This is one of those movies that I like from beginning to end, and I think the ending is completely original idea to how to end the film for sure. But no, I get you. I fully do.
Thanks.
But I'm still going to keep my opinion that I like the ending. So the film was written by Ben Ripley. Ben Ripley has not had a whole lot of screenplays, and I don't think he's even really a household name. He was the writer on Species 3, which was a straight-to-video Species film. Then he did another Species, The Awakening Species. These were early 2000s. So he blew up kind of with source code. And he wrote the remake of Flatliners starring Elliot Page and Diego Luna, which I did not see. I have not seen the original Flatliners, but I hear that the remake was pretty bad.
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. And Duncan Jones, everybody, like we have mentioned last episode and already this episode, is the offspring of David Bowie. This guy has very few films under his belt. I discovered the guy when my father and I went to go see Moon, which is a badass movie starring Sam Rockwell and the voice of Kevin Spacey. It is about an astronaut that is pretty much on the moon for a while.
By himself.
That's by himself, yeah. So it's a one-man show with Sam Rockwell. Really, really good movie. And Clint Mansell did the soundtrack for Moon, which if anybody's seen Moon, or you haven't, you got to check it out. It's awesome. It's not a very long movie, and it doesn't feel like it's drawn out, but it's a very fascinating flick. It's it's very Martian-like, very one-man showish for a while. So pretty good movie there. The guy also has only directed a very small handful of other films. One most recently that came out a few years ago called Mute, starring Paul Rudd, which I never saw. I think it was a Netflix film, and that's not why I saw it. I just hadn't had the opportunity to watch it yet. Alexander Skarsgård apparently is also in it, so I definitely am going to give it a shot. So again, Duncan Jones blew up with Moon, then Source Code came out, and then he did Warcraft, which I didn't hate Warcraft. I didn't see it in theaters. Yeah, I didn't hate it. I had always wanted to see it. Never, ever once in my life played a single second of the game, but the trailer looked interesting. I finally rented the Blu-ray on Redbox when it came out several years ago, and I had a good time. I thought it was fun. It's not one that I would likely own, but special effects were cool. It was a fun flick. So Duncan Jones, everybody, good director, a very good choice for this film. Actually, Jake Gyllenhaal was the first name and anybody really attached to Source Code once production got greenlit, and Jake Gyllenhaal had gone to see Moon and really liked it and suggested to the studio that Duncan Jones direct Source Code. So that's how Duncan Jones came about to direct Source Code, which is a really awesome story. I really like when actors do that. They go see a movie and like, holy shit, I'd like to work with that director, and they suggest them, it happens all the time. Like Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, they wanted to work with Robert Eggers for The Lighthouse. Just fucking, two seasoned actors like, oh, hey, man, I saw your movie The Witch. Oh, hey, man, I saw your movie Moon. Want to direct this one? Shit, yeah, I do. So I thought that was very cool of Jake Gyllenhaal to do. And I've actually only ever heard good things about Jake Gyllenhaal. I've never worked with the guy, but I hear he's a real blast to work with. So that's also a lot of fun to hear. I, again, have not been the biggest Jake Gyllenhaal fan. I'm not a big fan of Donnie Darko. I just don't like that movie. I might need to give it a shot again. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I do love Nightcrawler, and I really love Source Code, and I thought he was great in the Spider-Man movie, too, Mysterio. I thought he was fucking awesome in that role.
I love him in Prisoners.
Prisoners is good.
End of Watch. He's the cop.
End of Watch is really damn good.
Great movie.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, see, he's got some good movies. He really does. And, just like anybody else, he's got some stinkers too. But overall, I seem to like more of his movies than I don't. So I guess that's a good ratio.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal, during the production on the train sequences, had an earbud in his ear, and that was a Duncan Jones request, so that anytime Duncan Jones wanted to, he could put on some crazy music to throw Jake Gyllenhaal off, and it really paid off. So a lot of times when he's looking disoriented, he's like, "Oh shit, the music's on!" Like that's what it's kind of like in Inception, when they start with the kick. It's like all of a sudden now Jake Gyllenhaal has a kick that he's jumping into character for, and it really worked. His disorientation was very, very well portrayed in this film. The government facility was named Beleaguered Castle, and the reason for that is because it is a name variation of the game Solitaire. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Thinking, there's this, this government facility is using one person, solitary person. They call it Beleaguered Castle. I thought that was pretty cool. A nice way to incorporate Solitaire into the mix there.
Thank you for sharing that piece of trivia, because I wanted to know why headquarters was named Beleaguered Castle. And every time they try to, reorient Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Coulter, and it's like, okay, Captain, this is Beleaguered Castle. Come back. This is Beleaguered Castle. I'm like, why would that name, like, what is the connotation of that name? So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I really like that piece of info as well. This screenplay was on the 2007 Blacklist. Now, we've mentioned this before. I think with She's Out of My League, it was in the blacklist of most liked screenplays that had not yet been produced. So the screenplay had been sitting around for a minute, because that was 2007. The film came out in 2011. So we had 4 years since then, and who knows when Ben Ripley finished the screenplay. It could have been in fucking 2003.
Yeah.
It could have just been sitting around on people's desks. Like, V used to read scripts and pass them on if V liked that script. I did that one time, and I didn't like anything I read, so I stopped going.
Oh my gosh, there are so many bad scripts.
Yeah.
I love how, and I agree, the public is like, why can't Hollywood have an original concept? Or why does they always have to be comic books or remakes? Stop remaking movies. I wholeheartedly agree. I absolutely am on the same page. I like original storytelling. However, I will tell you, there are innumerable bad scripts being submitted as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I read
Netflix.
so oh my god. I read so many terrible scripts where I was like, okay, now I understand why it takes a minute to make a good movie and have a good original movie come forward, because there are so many terrible ones.
Yeah, and even up until the end of the principal photography, they're still being changed. And it's crazy. And a lot of times, these movies are not shot in sequence, kind of like how 28 Days Later was shot in sequence. So
Which is
if they were going to change, if they're going to change the script, they have to change it for that day because they're shooting it in sequence. Whereas if you're doing a movie maybe like Source Code, where you choose, okay, we're going to do the government facility stuff for the first half of production, and then the last half of production is going to be on the train, then it's like, okay, so if they rewrite anything, they have to make sure that they either go back and do pickups, or they just leave it the way it is. And how often is the script ever left alone? I guarantee you, because Kubrick did it, Tarantino is likely changing his script on the day too. So it happens all the time. But anyway, going back to the script thing, you think 2007 it was on the blacklist. So if anybody's ever watched Entourage or any TV show, based on the entertainment industry, and you're like, what are all those stacks of papers in the background? That is literally like 500 scripts just sitting there that have either not been read or just are about to be thrown into the furnace. Like who knows how often that even happens. So congrats to Ben Ripley for finally getting it produced and bringing us this fantastic movie. And again, it's somewhat of an original idea. The whole Groundhog Day thing is there. The live, die, repeat kind of situation with your movie coming up is also there, but the way that they tell the story, that's the original part. And it's like they use a trope to tell an original story, and that's what I really like about Source Code.
Which, hello, that's all stories, right? I mean, there are tropes that are taken, or there's cherry picking of old stories or classic stories that you then put a fresh twist on. Yeah. And that is part of storytelling in whatever medium you're doing it. We just happen to be talking about movies.
Right. Yeah. Lindsay Lohan was actually originally cast as Christina, who Michelle Monaghan ended up playing.
Really?
Yeah, she was recast, though, because of her legal issues conflicting with the production.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And now she's in a Lifetime Netflix movie. Congrats to Lindsay Lohan.
Well, just congrats for getting clean and getting her life back together, because she was a child actress who had terrible experiences in the film industry. Like I said, she had Harvey Weinstein after her for a while. Super gross. Same with actually Brett Ratner, who is disgusting. Speaking of, so I can understand the destructive path that she went on, and empathize with that. And I'm glad she's getting back on her feet.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But Michelle Monaghan I really like, and I loved her in Mission Impossible 3.
Hells yeah. No, she's great. She's always great. She always looks, it looks effortless to her at any movie that she's in. It's kind of like with Rose Byrne. I'm just kind of like, do you act or is this who you are?
Yeah, but in like a complimentary way. Not.
Absolutely, yeah. No, 100%.
She's not wooden. She definitely is acting very well, and I've never understood why she's not more famous.
I completely agree with you on that. She's always a joy to watch. She always has a smile on her face, and that's the crazy thing too. I think is like her and Rose Byrne. They always seem like they're smiling on the inside, you know.
Very
so
warm
like,
personalities, yeah.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
And they love what they do, and that's a reason to love them back, you know. Oddly enough, reading this piece of trivia, I can totally see this movie being as good with this actor. Topher Grace was originally considered as Coulter Stevens.
I'm not a fan of his at all.
Oh, I like him. I've always liked Topher Grace, except for in Spider-Man 3. I love that 70s show. I think that show is fucking hysterical. I don't think there's a bad episode of that 70s show, in all honesty. And I feel that way about How I Met Your Mother, too. And I know a lot of people don't like How I Met Your Mother or like the way that it ended. I couldn't give a shit. I think that show is flawless. I fucking love How I Met Your Mother. All episodes are entertaining. Anyway, principal photography on this film was 2 months. And I'm going to be honest,
what?
it seems like it's too short.
Way too short for the details and complexities of redoing a day over and over again, but having it slightly different.
Yeah. No, very interesting. So just under 8 weeks around that time.
Can you imagine being the script supervisor on this shoot?
Oh my gosh.
How tedious and difficult that must have been.
That was probably
Holy shit.
Very intense for said script supervisor.
For both of these movies, because there are a lot of details to go with repeating the day over and over again, these are two movies that I would hope there was a lot of storyboarding.
Oh, I can only imagine that there was.
They'd have to, in order to make sense of any of it and make it slightly coherent.
And this is one of those movies that I have never done any research on. I've never watched any of the making of. It's one of those movies that I like to watch the movie and just like, I don't even want to know how they did it.
Be
it's
immersed,
so awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, just completely be in it. So I still have not watched any of the making of, but I did do my production research, and I'm glad that I did, because there's been some interesting trivia and some interesting information kind of popping up. And I another reason why this podcast is so much fun is because we learn so much about our favorite movies, and I really like that.
Me too.
I'm glad. So the budget for Source Code was $32 million, which is pretty good. Pretty good budget. And I would think that a lot of that budget was, I don't even want to say that majority of that went to Jake Gyllenhaal. I feel like
visual effects
it was,
for sure.
Visual effects, locations, the renting of, building the train, and a couple of practical effects that they pulled off for this movie. So the worldwide gross of Source Code ended up coming in at $147.3 million.
Whoa.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But according to Duncan Jones, the movie did not make anything due to quote-unquote Hollywood accounting. And that really does kind of make me think, like, what happened here? 147 on a $32 million, that's over $110 million more than the budget.
Yeah.
So,
and for anybody who's listened to our podcast before knows that you usually have to double the budget to start making any money. So after $65 million, they should have started making money on that.
I completely
How
agree.
odd.
Yeah. But again, like he just said, he has been quoted saying Hollywood accounting. So maybe advertisements, maybe back-end points.
I was going to say back-end
sales,
points,
I don't know. Yeah.
Original purchasing of like a script that isn't part of the budget, or they, buying it from another studio. Maybe they had to trade something. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's
I know. Yeah, it's very, very fascinating stuff. And 2011 is a year that we have not discussed, at least on my end. So we're going to play my favorite game, as we do here at Movies You Missed podcast. I have V guess the highest grossing film of the year that my film came out. It is part 2 of a very long series of movies. Now think about the part 2 aspect. There's only a few films that have gone so far as to make their final one into 2 chapters.
Oh, I thought you meant it was like the second movie in a long series of movies.
Oh, no, it's the second ending of a long series of movies.
That would be Harry Potter then.
Yes, it is. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Which, bitchin' movies. I mean, they really get so much darker and more intense as you go on, and I really like that about them. So that's the number 1 movie of 2011. Came in at $381 million. That's a lot for sure. Number 2 was another series of movies, and I believe this is the 3rd one, and I think it was the final one that Shia LaBeouf was in.
Transformers.
Yeah, Dark of the Moon. That's the third one, isn't it?
Don't
Is
ask
it-
me. I hate those
Okay.
movies other than the first one, and
really?
I haven't seen any of the other movies other than the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've
I think they're trash.
Oh, I have the first 3 on Blu-ray. I love the first one. The second one, not so much. The third one, I think, is Dark of the Moon, and that one was okay. And I'll be honest, I didn't think that The Last Night was that terrible. I
Okay.
thought it was all right. And I also might think that because when I was shooting Scream Queens on stage 16 at the Paramount lot, that's where that right across from that stage is the parking lot where they fill with water, to do like the water scenes and stuff. And at one point over like the course of 2 weeks, as I was walking from base camp over to stage 16, there was a whole bunch of big, huge pieces of equipment and cranes, and there were these big, huge balls that looked like wrecking balls, and I didn't know what the fuck any of this shit was. And finally one day, we're about to go to lunch on Scream Queens, and my first AD is like, hey guys, if you want to go see something cool, you should go out to the parking lot where the water is usually filled. They're shooting a movie over there right now, and they were shooting Transformers or The Last Night. So I actually was maybe 75 feet away from Michael Bay and saw him directing a couple of scenes that were all done over, the course of several days. Mm-hmm. And what they were doing was shooting up against a green screen a whole bunch of different stuff, and they fucking brought Optimus Prime in. And it was it was
That's
pretty
cool.
fucking cool. So that might be why I like The Last Night, because I saw some of the production go down. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was number 2, the very popular set of movies. Number 3, it's strange because the 5 highest grossing films are all like a series movies. Mm-hmm. So we did Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows Part 2. Number 2 was Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Number 3 was Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. Mm-hmm. Number 4 was The Hangover Part 2. And number 5 was Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Oh, and then number 6 was Fast 5. Number 7 was Cars 2. Number 9 was Rise of the Planet of the Apes. The only movies in the top 10 that were not sequels yet was number 8, it was Thor, and number 10 was Captain America. So, in a way, the top 10 movies of 2011 were all series fucking movies.
And so when people are up in arms saying all Hollywood makes is comic book movies and sequels, this is the fucking reason, because they are the highest grossing movies. If people stopped watching them, they'd stop fucking making them.
Yeah, they probably would. They very, very likely would. Oddly enough, the Best Picture winner of that year, The King's Speech, came in at number 22. A lot of people get really shitty on that movie. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was fine. I mean, it wasn't like some, epic, like, tearjerker of a movie, but, I mean, it was fine.
I don't think it was Best Picture worthy.
Maybe not Best Picture worthy. I thought Jeffrey Rush was great. He's always great. Number 12 of 2011, one of my favorite female-led comedies, Bridesmaids. Absolutely hysterical. And then a couple more series movies were in the top 25. Number 13 was Kung Fu Panda number 2. Number 14 was X-Men First Class. Fucking awesome movie. Number 18 was Super 8, which I really like.
Love that movie.
That was a great fucking flick. A lot of people talk shit on that one too. Not entirely sure why.
People don't even talk about it. I mean, that was one
that's
of
true. It's a forgotten gems.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams' Forgotten Gem. I love that movie. We should totally cover it.
I agree. It's a lot of fucking fun. Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows was number 19.
Sequel.
Sequel. Rango was number 20, which I love Rango. Think Rango is fucking great. Gore Verbinski and Johnny Depp and Isla Fisher and so on and so on and so on. A lot of voice acting going on in that movie. That's great. Number 21 was Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol.
Nice.
And one of your favorite movies, it was number 23, Horrible Bosses.
It's not one of my favorite movies.
Oh, I thought it was because it had Jason Suit dumbass in it.
No, it's not one of my favorite movies.
Okay. Well, a movie that you like.
That you hate.
That I don't like, yes. A couple other movies from 2011 that were in the top 100. 55 was Water for Elephants with Reese Witherspoon and Robert Pattinson and Christoph Waltz. I like that movie. I watched it again after becoming a fan of Robert Pattinson, and it was I enjoyed that movie. Number 62 was Tron Legacy. Fucking visually
awesome movie.
Spectacular movie. It, like, literally makes me drool because it's so awesome, and that soundtrack is fucking killer. Number 60, Source Code, scratch the top 100.
Nice.
Pretty awesome news there. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, David Fincher, was number 67. Number 79 was Tangled, which is a great film.
One of my all-time favorite Pixar movies.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Number 96 was War Horse. Great movie. Thought that was good. Steven Spielberg directed. Number 95 was Sucker Punch, which was a lot of fun. I thought that was a pretty cool flick. And number 100 of 2011 was, so far, might be my only performance of his that I've enjoyed since seeing the garbage La La Land Drive with Ryan Gosling, was number 100 of 2011.
Nice.
Yeah. So that is Source Code, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Michelle Moynihan, Vera Farmiga, Jeffrey Wright, written by Ben Ripley, directed by Duncan Jones. 2011. Give it a shot if you haven't seen it. It really is a lot of fun. And the cool thing about it, if you don't want to spend an afternoon watching a movie, based on the way we're discussing it, it might sound like a very long movie. It's only a 90-minute caper, and it is worth every minute of those 90 minutes.
Absolutely.
And you can watch Source Code on HBO Max or on Amazon Prime with a subscription. I watched my Blu-ray copy.
Nice. I watched it on HBO Max.
Wonderful. And now, V, it's your turn. And now, V, it's your turn. And now, V, it's your turn.
Thank you.
Welcome.
As we mentioned, this is the first Tom Cruise movie we are picking for this podcast. Certainly will not be the last, though. We are big fans of him here, and he makes great movies for the most part, including this one.
Oh, hell yes. This movie is so fucking bitchin'.
This movie is so badass. And as we've mentioned several times in this episode, our movies are a take on Groundhog Day. It's actually sci-fi takes, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yes, definitely.
This is Edge of Tomorrow, and it came out in 2014.
Damn, it's almost 10 years old.
I know, I couldn't believe it when
That's nuts. It still
watched it
feels so new.
And the funny thing is, it's supposed to take place in 2020.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. It is.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. 6 years. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Which is kind of perfect because 2020 was kind of the end of the world in a lot of ways and sucked a lot.
True
so
that.
they picked an appropriate year for that for sure.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the premise of Edge of Tomorrow is that an asteroid has come and hit Earth. And with that asteroid, it carried alien life called mimics. They have very quickly decimated all of Europe, a lot of Asia, and are basically taking over the world. They are strong, fast, powerful, creepy-looking bastards. I love the design of these aliens in this movie. They have cool movements. I love all of their arms. I love their colors. Everything about these aliens are very intimidating, very foreboding. They look like they are just going to take over.
Hell yeah, definitely. I remember seeing this in theaters and thinking, like, this is a badass alien. Like you said, the movements, like when they do like the barrel rolls to get out of the way of the weapons, it's just like, holy shit. It really is so awesome. And their faces are they're scary faces. Yeah,
they're scary. They're original, which I always appreciate. Aliens have been done so many times in Hollywood, so coming up with an original look of an alien is kind of harder to do, and I really respect the production designers in this film.
I really liked the look of these aliens, like I said, on the big screen especially. My TV is pretty large, and the room that I have it in is not very big, so I was I said not dangerously close to the screen, but I have a good
we like being
vision.
Immersed.
Yeah, exactly. Like it to kind of just take over.
Yeah, exactly.
And watching it this time around with in the dark, my sound bar cranked up, the mimics really are fucking scary aliens.
Yeah.
I would not want to come to draws with one at all.
Yeah, and so they have been just decimating the human race. They've been winning every battle. We are unprepared, ill-equipped to fight this invading force. And it is 5 years since the aliens invaded, since this asteroid came to Earth. And there is a united defense force, which is basically a ton of different countries' militaries working together trying to defeat these aliens. Now, we've had one decisive victory in Verdun. This woman played by Emily Blunt, whose name is, in the movie, Rita Vertasky, which is such a badass name.
That is a sweet name. Rita. I just like that.
Yeah, she's fantastic in this movie, and she has helped win and is the star basically of this decisive victory in Verdun, and she's being called the Angel of Verdun, and all of this military propaganda has her all over, plastered on posters, recruitment boards, everything. And because she's wearing this exoskeleton suit that is armor and weapons, and all of the military personnel and all of the PR departments are saying, this will turn anyone into a soldier, a short time of training and you can kill all these aliens too, just like her.
Yeah.
She volunteered, and after a short amount of training and getting familiarized with this suit of weapons, she was the Angel of Verdun. And that is where Tom Cruise comes in.
Mm-hmm.
He is in PR and advertising and was in the ROTC in college. And one of the things I absolutely love about this movie is Major Bill Cage, played by Tom Cruise, is a fucking coward. I love that this is a new turn for Tom Cruise.
I know, yeah, it's so true.
It is unlike most roles he plays. We always joke that, in the Mission Impossible movies, he never even bleeds. He's always the action hero. He's always this star. And in this movie, he is the complete opposite. He is a coward. He tries to blackmail people. He is kind of, slimy in his cowardice and selfishness.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
And there is this very big counter invasion that the United Defense Force is organizing, and it's run by this general played by Brendan Gleeson.
Yes.
Who we talked about a little bit in our 28 Days Later episode.
Mm-hmm.
He is most notably, because it's just such a popular series, he's Mad-Eye Moody in the Harry Potter series.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's also in Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise.
You did mention that. It's such I truly don't remember.
He's the pharmaceutical executive and owner, and he's the one that gets duped by Tom Cruise when Tom Cruise is wearing the face of somebody else in Mission Impossible 2.
Okay.
He is also Hamish, who is the big burly best friend of Mel Gibson in Braveheart.
Yes,
it's him
that's right.
and an older guy who plays his father, and they're really close to Mel Gibson in Braveheart. So that's where I first was introduced to Brendan Gleeson. He's awesome.
Yeah, that's true. I do tend to forget that he is in Braveheart.
Yeah, me too.
Every time I watch it, I'm like, oh shit, I forgot he was in that.
Because I've never seen him in a beard again.
That's true. Yeah, he's been pretty much clean shaven.
Exactly. So he's the general for the United Defense Force, and he's talking to Tom Cruise, and he's like, hey, you've done a great job selling our exoskeleton suit. We've had a ton of people sign up and volunteers. It's been great. So tomorrow morning, during this huge invasion that we're doing into France, you're going to be on the front lines. And Tom Cruise is like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea. And he tries to weasel his way out of the situation. And the general's like, no, this is happening. We need good PR. Mm-hmm. And Tom Cruise tries to blackmail him. And the general's like, goes and gets his aides and goes, arrest this man. Yeah. He's trying to desert.
So crazy.
So great. And Tom Cruise gets arrested and knocked out. He gets tased, actually, which is pretty hilarious. And he wakes up, and he's at Heathrow Airport, which is now a military base, and they're all getting ready for this invasion the next morning, which is like D-Day, basically. Very reminiscent of D-Day. Yeah. And he gets woken up, and Master Sergeant Farrell comes along and gives him his new assignment. And he has in his pocket a piece of paper saying that Tom Cruise was impersonating an officer. He's trying to desert, and there's no phone calls out of this base. So Tom Cruise is just stuck being this prisoner and now is at the front lines. And Master Sergeant Farrell is played by Bill Paxton, who
so awesome.
Is awesome. And I love that he is really reminiscent of the commander of the troops in Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember in Aliens, they all wake up and the leader of the troop is like, man, I love being in the Corps. Being in the Corps is like a day on the farm. And, he goes into this whole thing. And Bill Paxton, who has this great Kentucky accent, is like, battle is the great crucible and it is the great redeemer. And he gets into this whole monologue. And it was just so reminiscent of Aliens, which he was in. And I absolutely loved it. And he's great supporting character in this movie.
Rumor is a terrible thing. Come nightfall, these men will all reach the same conclusion. That you're a coward and a lie, putting your life above theirs. The good news is there's hope for you, Private. hope in the form of glorious combat. Battle is the great redeemer, the fiery crucible in which the only true heroes are forged. The one place where all men truly share the same rank, regardless of what kind of parasitic scum they were going in.
Hell yeah. Again, when I saw this trailer, I don't think even Bill Paxton was mentioned in the trailer.
No.
I think it was all Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And when I saw this in theaters and he is, oh my gosh, his first...
You're like, oh shit!
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I remember kind of like sitting back and being like, what's he going to do in this movie? And yeah, I 100% loved his character in this movie. And his... I loved it. He cracks me up every time I watch it.
Yes, and he actually was in a Jake Gyllenhaal movie. He was in Nightcrawler.
Oh, that's right. He was.
He's like one of the competitors.
Yeah,
for the
that
news
you
story.
meet early on in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, back to Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, so now Tom Cruise is stuck in this squad called J Squad, and they are storming the beach tomorrow morning. The next morning, he's put into one of these suits that he's never been in, ever.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, he's asking all the guys, like, hey, how do I turn the safety off? And they're like, yeah, like, we're going to tell you how to turn the safety off. And they go on to this beach. It's supposed to be this surprise attack against the mimic aliens. And they all of a sudden, they get swarmed. Everybody's getting killed. And this is about, I would say, like 15 minutes or so into the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And Tom Cruise gets killed, which you don't see very often.
No, not at all.
And he kills an alien in the process, this special blue alien, and then, bam, wakes up again, back at Heathrow, back at this military base, gets reintroduced to Bill Paxton's character, Master Sergeant Farrell, and is like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, that was always such a trip.
And this is
every time.
And every single time, similar to Source Code, every time there's a reset, it's original, it's different. The movie and plotline moves along very, very well, even though they are repeating scenes over and over and over again, which I think is a big challenge. I think both movies execute this repeat very, very well.
Fuck yeah, 100% agree with you.
And so one of these times that he's on the beach, he's now getting a sense of his weapons and this suit, and he knows where things are coming, and he runs into Emily Blunt's character, Rita Vertasky, and he's like, wait, there's something right there. And, before it even happens, and she looks at him strangely, and she says, find me when you wake up.
Oh, I love that part.
And they both get killed. And he wakes up again, and he goes to find her on this military base. And you find out that she knows what's going on with him through a series of events that are great. And it is about Major Bill Cage, played by Tom Cruise, and Rita Vertasky, played by Emily Blunt, trying to stop the decimation of the human race, trying to beat this alien force where everything is stacked against them. And it's about getting things right. And it is awesome.
So awesome. I love it. Love this movie. It is so action-packed. That first wave on the beach is so nuts, and then every time we go, I honestly am just always excited to get back on the beach and see
every
what
time
he's learned and what he can accomplish this time.
Exactly, and how far he can get.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about both of these movies is the opportunity to try again and learn from your mistakes before. And do you save the person to your left, or do you actually save yourself and continue going? There's so many questions that have answers. It's like these open world games now, it's like every decision you make affects your survival in like Fallout or whatever else games, Skyrim, I don't know, but I don't play too many video games like that, but it's so awesome, especially when he does meet up with Rita and she begins to train him, and the training sequence is
so awesome.
Badass and hysterical at the same time, because again, you've never seen Tom Cruise get fucked up to the point where he has to die to come back to try again.
Yes.
It's so crazy.
It's a whole new way to see Tom Cruise, which is what I love about this movie. Yeah. And as you said, it's action-packed, it's clever, it's original, but it's also really funny.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And not in a, they're telling jokes way, in a this is life and they're trying to get through this comedic way. It's fantastic,
Yes.
And I just love the combination of it being a great action movie, a clever, funny movie, and also a different Tom Cruise. And I think that's what makes this movie exceptional.
Yeah, no, I'm fully agreeing with you on that as well. It really does kick ass in every aspect of everything. I think one of the funniest parts to me, beyond Bill Paxton, is when we finally meet Noah Taylor's character, who is a character actor in many, many things. And actually, he and Tom Cruise worked together in Vanilla Sky several years before this.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It was cool to see them together again. Noah Taylor's character plays him shows him this 3D map
so cool.
of the city and whatnot, and how like they think he might be able to save everybody. I love when Tom Cruise's character, he just goes, this presentation is terrific. Terrific. And just like, he's so just like, I mean, this is amazing, but I am not the guy that you're thinking of. Because like there's still doubts in his mind.
Yeah,
too,
because he's still
like,
acting like a giant pussy.
I don't know if this is even real, like what's happening to me.
Yeah.
First of all, this is a terrific presentation. Terrific.
So yeah, that is still one of my favorite parts. Like,
Well, and I love how,
and like you said, it's not like a joke. It's just the way that he delivers it.
Yes.
And it's just like, I would be like, this is fucking amazing. But yeah, he's like terrific. It's like the Tom Cruise rific.
it's so good. And I love when they first meet, and Noah Taylor's character is like, he knows that Tom Cruise is repeating every day, and so he's like, okay, how many figures am I holding up? And Tom Cruise is like, I don't know. This is the first time we've had this conversation.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. I always liked when they referred to it that way. As, it's like, how many times have we had this conversation?
Right.
Like how far have we gotten before? That's the crazy thing about these movies. It's like it's happening to him, but all these people are still, dying again, or they're like,
it's still the first time for them.
Yeah, it's still the first time for them. So that's always such a fucking trip,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, love that shit. Love it.
And Noah Taylor, another couple movies you might recognize him from, he is the tech guy in Tomb Raider, the Angelina Jolie movies.
Oh, okay.
He's great in those. That's how I was introduced to him. And he's also Mr. Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Johnny Depp Tim Burton remake.
Oh,
he's in that.
Who's Mr. Bucket?
Charlie Bucket's dad.
Oh, wow.
It's okay.
Okay. I literally thought you were going to say he's the voice of that toy Mr. Bucket from the 90s. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Mr. Bucket. Popped something out of his mouth or something like that?
He wasn't that.
Okay.
Okay, so we talk about Tom Cruise a lot. He is a massive global movie star. How many credits do you think he has?
Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm going to think of the ones that I know. Okay. I'm going to guess roughly like 45.
What the shit? Seriously?
Yeah.
Because he's this big, massive global movie star. You think he's been in a ton of stuff, right?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
The man's been in 46 credits. God damn it. I thought I was going to trip you up.
46. I was off by one.
He has 46 credits to his name.
Wow.
Of course, a lot of stuff in pre-production, but yes. Nicely done. Damn it.
Thank you.
I really thought I was going to stump you.
No, I counted up to like 10 in my head, and then I was like, I think I'm definitely going to miss some, but
nice.
Wow, 46.
46
cool.
credits. My favorite sci-fis of movies of his. Now, I've seen, I believe, 43 of his movies out of the 46 credits that he has.
Okay.
And again, accidentally, like I have not always been this, huge fan of Tom Cruise. I am learning this through our podcast. But when I was looking up his credits the other night when I was researching this, I was like, oh shit, okay, I've seen just about all of these.
Wow.
So I will, because this is my sci-fi pick of his, or one of my sci-fi picks of his, I will cover his sci-fi movies that I love. Oblivion, which is also on my list.
Yes, that's a good one. I like Oblivion a lot.
Yes. Minority Report, which I also love, and you do too.
That is such a killer fucking movie.
War of the Worlds, which I hate. You like.
But you're going to cover it?
No. But it's a sci-fi movie he's done, so I figured I'd mention it. Got it.
I don't hate it. I haven't watched it in a while, but I saw it like twice in theaters, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it once in theaters and once at home, and disliked it both times.
That was it, yeah.
And then this isn't a sci-fi movie, but I have to bring it up because I love it so much. His cameo in Tropic Thunder is Les Grossman.
Oh, one of the best ever. One of
best
the
cameos
best ever.
For
Yeah.
any actor ever.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
So fucking hysterical. Oh my God. He was so awesome.
So good.
I remember always watching this movie in theaters and being like, is that fucking Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
And it sure enough was, and so hysterical.
And Emily Blunt is the co-star of this movie. Tom Cruise wanted to work with her and requested she audition for this film, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
She really sprang onto the scene as Emily in The Devil Wears Prada. She's the assistant.
Yes, that's right, she is.
She's great in it. And she also was Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins Returns.
I like Mary Poppins Returns.
Awesome. I haven't seen it yet, actually.
You should give it a shot.
Yeah,
It's
I need
definitely
to. I need
it's
to.
very reminiscent of the original, and Lin-Manuel Miranda is great in it. I mean, it's definitely that Bert effect with the really terrible, shitty British accent. But when he sings and does his stuff, it's pretty good.
It's on my list of movies I want to watch on my Disney Plus subscription, so I need to get to it at some point.
Yes, you do.
She, of course, is in Quiet Place and its sequel, both directed by her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite role of hers, Sicario.
Oh, yes. Fuck. Oh,
That movie's
man.
so good.
Sicario is so damn good.
Oh, my God.
That
movie's
movie
amazing.
is so fucking nuts. That opening sequence of that movie is insane.
Yes.
That whole movie is insane. But yeah, that cast is so good.
And this movie was written by a couple of gentlemen, one of them being Christopher McQuarrie.
Hey, Tom Cruise's longtime collaborator.
Yes. He has written some fantastic films.
Yes, indeed.
He just burst out of the gate with The Usual Suspects.
Really? He was one of the writers on Usual Suspects?
He was the writer on The Usual Suspects.
Oh, I thought Bryan Singer was also...
He was the director and did some edits to the script, but...
Oh, okay. But he wrote...
But Christopher McQuarrie was the main writer on it. Yeah, which I
Awesome. I did not know that.
He wrote Valkyrie, which was a Tom Cruise movie.
I never saw that one, actually.
It's not as terrible as everybody says it is.
No?
No.
Okay.
But, I mean... Tom Cruise playing a Nazi soldier with an eye patch is kind of hard to believe.
A little bit, yeah.
I honestly think that it could have been a better movie with some tightening of the script and maybe different casting.
Sure.
And then he wrote The Tourist with Angelina Jolie and Johnny
Ooh.
Depp, which is a bad movie but a guilty pleasure.
Oh, I never saw it.
Don't watch it. It's bad, but it's very fun, and Paul Bettany's in it.
Well, we do have a guilty pleasure episode coming up.
I know. I'm trying to think of what to put in there. It's not going to be The Tourist, but it's going to be something good. He also did the adaptation of the book for the screen of Jack Reacher, Tom Cruise.
Ah, yeah.
And then wrote Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, The Mummy with Tom Cruise, which was terrible.
I turned that one
We are
off.
not going to talk about that movie ever.
Yeah, I never finished it.
Mission Impossible Fallout and Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
He's also a director, and a badass one at that, because not only did he direct Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and Fallout is the most recent one with Henry Cavill in it, he also directed Jack Reacher and The Way of the Gun with Benicio del Toro.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've never saw The Way of the Gun.
I've heard great things. I haven't seen it either, but I heard great things.
Huh.
Jez Butterworth and his brother Jeff are the other writers for this film. Jez wrote Ford versus Ferrari.
Nice.
Which is one of your picks that I'm pissed that you picked it before I did, because I love that movie and I wanted it to be one of my picks.
It's a great movie. It's literally the only car movie I like.
I know, which is why I was like, okay, fine, he can do it, because I know a lot of other car and racing movies, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's not.
I'll compliment
it. I'm not an automobile guy.
He also wrote Spectre, which is a James Bond movie with Christoph Waltz, which is very forgettable. Mm-hmm. He wrote Black Mass with Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, as the mobster.
I never saw that one, actually.
I didn't either, but I heard it was pretty good. And he wrote Get On Up with Chadwick Boseman about
James Brown.
James Brown, thank you.
Yeah. I actually have been wanting. That's a movie I've had on my list to watch
Same.
for a long time.
Yeah,
and
I heard Chadwick was really good in it.
Yeah, I thought Chadwick was good most of the time. I really liked him in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I thought he was great.
I loved him in 42 as Jackie Robinson.
I never saw that one
Oh,
either.
fuck. That movie's so good and has
I'm not
Harrison
a
Ford in it.
baseball person.
Neither am
yeah,
I.
know.
Remember, we talked about this. We're not baseball
Yeah.
fans, but we like baseball movies.
Yeah, I know. And I like playing baseball video games and going to games. I guess I like baseball.
Apparently.
I don't know, but baseball movies have never. I mean, but I do like League of Their Own. I love. Come on, you can't not love Angels in the Outfield.
Yes, you can.
Joseph
The Rookie
Gordon-Levitt
was
and
so much
Christopher
better.
Lloyd.
What are you talking
Christopher
about?
Lloyd.
No,
Well, yeah,
the Rookie was much
Rookie
better.
of the Year.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Rookie of the Year was a much better kids baseball movie.
Well, yeah, it wasn't as so depressing.
There's that,
definitely, because Angels in the Outfield actually is pretty fucking heavy.
Yeah, it's like All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Kind of. Yeah,
Brutal movie, yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah. Anyway, so Doug Liman is the director of this movie. He directed Tom Cruise in American Made, which is...
I like that movie.
I love that movie. It's a loosely based biopic of a pilot who used to fly drugs into the U.S. For a drug cartel. And again, it's another movie where Tom Cruise plays a totally different character than he usually does.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think, and Domhnall Gleeson, who is Brendan Gleeson's son, was in American Made, which is cool.
That's right. Yeah, that movie was good. I rented that on Redbox, I think, about 2 years ago.
Nice. Okay.
And I was like, I wanted to see it in theaters, but I just never had the opportunity to. It was good.
Yeah, and then he directed Jumper with Jamie Bell and Hayden Christensen and Samuel L. Jackson. I saw it, and it was almost good. If the script had some edits to it and they explained some things much better, it would have been really, really good. And I think what happened was they set it up like, oh, well, we can explain all these plot holes in the sequels because this is based on a comic book series. And it's like, no, because you need to make a good movie first so people want to see a sequel.
Yeah,
They didn't.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then he directed a movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I love and you don't.
I didn't like it very much.
No. He also directed The Bourne Identity.
Oh, awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Great movie. Great movie, Bourne Identity.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Edge of Tomorrow is actually based on a short manga novel, All You Need Is Kill, by award-winning author Hiroshi Sakurazaka.
Really? I did not know that at all, actually.
I didn't either, actually. I never knew this was based on manga.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and so in the story, the reason why Rita uses that cool melee weapon, it's a giant sword that she uses like a total badass.
Yes.
It was because when her and Tom Cruise went through all of the resets, she would often run out of ammo, which resulted in their deaths.
Yes, that's right.
This was also a blacklist script for 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
So 4 years later, it got made.
came out in 2014, exactly.
Nuts.
Yeah. During the Emily Blunt's character, Rita Vertasky, is by the military higher-ups and the public, really praised and called the Angel of Verdun, and everybody loves her, but the military guys on the ground really don't like her and call her, like, the Full Metal Bitch. And they spray paint that on all of her posters and stuff. And so during an early sequence of the film, Emily Blunt is walking out of this training facility and getting ready to go. And she's walking through this crowd of soldiers. And one of them goes, "Bloody hell, it's the Full Metal Bitch." And she punches him.
Yes,
Right?
I do remember that. Yeah, that was good.
That's her real life younger brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Which is perfect. Yeah. And because it was Tom Cruise, of course, as much as possible had to be practical. Mm-hmm. They even imported aliens. Just kidding. But the exosuits, he didn't want to be CGI. He wanted them to be as real to the audience as possible. So he showed up 2 months early in pre-production to research and develop the suit.
That is fucking awesome. That shit's actually real.
And they weighed between 90 and 125 pounds when they were fully armored up.
Shit.
Yeah.
And he's running in that thing?
Yeah, and so is Emily
Good
Blunt.
God. Oh, my Lord. That makes it so much more badass.
Right?
Because in all honesty, you watch a movie like this and you see a suit like that, and it's like, okay, that's probably a lot of, just foam, and they did a lot of tweaking and visual effects to make it look and act heavy. And they run like it's really heavy, but holy shit.
No, man, it's Tom Cruise.
And I'll
It's
bet
gonna be
Tom
real.
Cruise is like 125 pounds already, so he's like, pulling his own weight times two. Like, that's nuts. And yeah, of course, it's Tom Cruise. What a
Fucking badass.
Jesus Christ! He gets better and better.
Right? And Emily Blunt,
I just
too.
love the guy.
'cause she's
And
so
Emily
tiny.
Blunt, yeah. What? Exactly, yeah. And she's running around in that shit, too. Good Lord.
But what's crazy is that, and what now makes a lot of sense, now that I know these were real suits, is that when principal photography wraps and you're editing or you're in post-production, and all of a sudden the director and the editors get together and they're like, oh shit, we missed something. Mm-hmm. They do pickup shots is what they're called. And they basically bring people back to reshoot something. And this was very notoriously done in Justice League.
Yes, that's right.
Under Joss Whedon, when they brought Henry Cavill back, but he had already started growing facial hair, I believe for Mission Impossible Fallout, actually.
I think that's what it was for, yeah. And a lot of people have always said something about the CGI.
Which was terrible.
Mustache. I guess I just didn't notice it, really, because
And so that's what pickup shots are. During the months between principal photography and pickup shots, Emily Blunt became pregnant. And because of the pregnancy, she opted not to do her own stunts for most of the pickup shots and didn't tell anybody why, but she had done a lot of her own stunts because, of course, Tom Cruise does most of his own stunts, and he gets a lot of his co-stars to do them with him. And so Tom Cruise was like, what's going on? You've done most of your own stunts before. And besides her husband and her best friend, Tom Cruise was the only one to learn that she was pregnant.
No way.
She told him about the pregnancy and so why she couldn't do the stunts, and he kept it under wraps, and that's why all the pickup shots had a stunt woman in them.
Oh, wow. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, cool on TC for keeping that DL.
Yeah. That sounded so
that was
douchey.
so fucking dumb. Don't even, you know what? Use it. Why not? Fuck it. Put it in. I said it. I thought it was going to be funny, and it did get a laugh, but it sounded so ridiculous when it finally did come out of my mouth.
It was hilarious. And so, but she was very cool. And her, when she's in the training facility and she's doing a planche, which is basically holding up your entire body with just your two arms, she can do that in real life.
Oh.
She needed a wire assist to help on the long takes because, in the movie, when it's edited, she's only doing it for a few seconds. But during a real shooting schedule, you're in these positions for a very long time, which is why when people have to kneel in front of a gravestone, they usually are wearing like a knee pad or have some pad under them in the grass because you're there for quite a long time. And so she did need a wire during the takes, but she could do it in real life. And, Tom Cruise is known for his generosity. Every year he sends a Christmas cake to Kristen Dunst since they work together on Interview with a Vampire.
Wait, what? I'm sorry? He sends her a Christmas cake every year?
Every year.
Tom Cruise sends Kirsten Dunst a Christmas cake every year.
Yep. And her family talks about it, and they're like, oh, has Tom Cruise sent his Christmas cake yet? And she's like, yeah, it's in the mail.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
Apparently has a legendary memory for anybody he has ever worked with and continues to be in contact with them. And he spent,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and he spent over $100,000 on a wrap party for the entire cast and crew, even though he couldn't be there himself because he was finishing scenes of the movie.
Oh, wow. And that's for Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah.
That is fucking $100,000 on a rap party? Good God.
Yep. A lot of people forget this movie. It didn't seem to be super popular in the US, but looking it up, first of all, it had a $178 million budget.
Wow.
Yeah. Which
that's a big one.
Might be one of the most expensive movies we've talked about so far in this podcast.
I think so. Most definitely. That's a high number. Yeah. Damn.
It made $100 million in the US, so wasn't really well received in the US.
No.
But it made $370 million worldwide. So
that's pretty good.
Don't think it would be I don't think it would be considered a bust. I don't know how much money they really made on it, but it's certainly not a bomb.
No, definitely not a bomb.
Yeah. And that's Edge of Tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm so glad you like this movie too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Big fan. Like I said, will never forget seeing it in theaters, and then I've watched this movie a lot, and the cool thing about it is you catch something new every time, and the special effects are awesome. The cast is great. I love the soundtrack, and it's kind of like Source Code. It really is one of those movies where I get into the mindset of I would love for this to happen in certain scenarios in life, like maybe not dying, but definitely. Well, I guess you would have to die to
you had to experience
to continue doing
it.
it.
But wearing one of those badass exosuits would be cool.
Yeah, that would be wild. Just to try it out.
Yeah, for sure.
I would try that for sure.
Kind of remind me of the exosuit in Aliens too.
Yeah, and I was thinking similar to the ones in Avatar too. Those big, huge ones that they use.
For sure.
So they've definitely had plays on those too, for characters and whatnot. So that's pretty cool to see them go a different way.
Yeah.
Every time. They don't always look the same, which is nice.
Yeah, and would you watch Source Code with your grandma?
Probably. I think I would. Yeah.
Really?
I think grandma would enjoy it. Yeah, it's she likes again, she's got an interesting taste in movies, and I think it's one that she would likely enjoy.
Okay.
But at the same time, if we're half hour in and she wants to turn it off, then we'll turn it off.
It's a little intense and deals with, murder on a larger scale because it's a terrorist attack. So I certainly wouldn't recommend that movie for children.
No, definitely not.
Your more sensitive family members.
Right, yeah. And definitely a true PG-13 rating. It didn't need to go any worse than PG-13, and they get the point across well enough with that rating, and I think it works out.
Yeah, it's certainly not gory. It's more the themes than anything else, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And would you watch Edge of Tomorrow with your grandmother?
With my grandmother, who is the sheriff, yes.
Nice.
I have watched it with my dad. One of my sisters has watched it. I don't think we've watched it together, though, if I remember correctly. But I certainly recommend this to a lot of people. Because it's an alien invasion, it's a little more easily consumable, so I would actually say teenagers could totally watch the movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Definitely.
Nice. Well, that is our on-repeat episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and maybe you enjoyed it enough to listen to it more than once.
Hey, that would be interesting. Yeah, we get the next review is I've listened to every episode more than once, kind of like their newest episode.
Nice. And since we're on the topic, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast that has a new episode every Wednesday. We currently have a promotion where if you write a review for us on Apple Podcast app, we will send you a sticker of our podcast logo. So please take a couple minutes out of your day and write us up something. It can be just a couple sentences, and we would deeply appreciate it. We love reading those.
I absolutely do enjoy reading those. Anytime we get a new one, it's like Christmas. Somebody took the time enough to write a review, good or bad.
No, just good, please.
Okay.
We're too new to get any bad reviews yet. Come on.
Maybe.
If you had feedback for us, shoot us an email instead.
There you go.
You can find us
moviesyoumissed@gmail.com.
That's right. And before we close out the episode, do you want to tell our audience what we have planned for the next month?
Oh, why not? Let's do it. It is going to be a fun couple of weeks. It is also going to be Christmas-ish in this house. We are going to be doing our favorite Christmas movies, whether that is Christmas-themed movies that have Christmas in the background. So yeah, that's what we're going to jump into. Next week is going to be the first one of those, and I'm very excited because I've only seen V's pick once or twice, and I don't watch it very much. Yeah, it's not one that I've watched often, but my pick is a fantastic comedy that is not labeled as a Christmas movie, but I think it is because it's set during Christmas. Just Friends. It stars Ryan Reynolds, Amy Smart, and Anna Faris.
I have never seen it.
I can't wait for you to watch it because I know you're a Ryan Reynolds fan.
That's true.
And if you care to follow along and watch this movie before we discuss it, it is available on Peacock now with a subscription, so you can watch it for free if you have Peacock. I will watch my
Fabulous.
DVD copy.
Okay.
Yes.
And yes, we are doing a Christmas themed month similar to our horror themed month in October. And one of the conversations we will be having next week is what constitutes a Christmas movie, because
Yes.
mine in particular, there has been very heated discussion over the years on whether or not this is a Christmas movie. So we would love to hear from you on whether you think this is a Christmas movie or not, because I have picked the glorious and classic Die Hard, starring
Nice.
Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've only seen it like twice in my life and not anytime recently.
And you can watch Die Hard with a Stars On Demand subscription.
Oh, wonderful. I actually currently have Stars at the moment, so I will get to watch it.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, that about wraps us up. Again, please feel free to follow us on social media and write us up a review. And until next week, we like to wrap our show by saying, film is a form of art, and in art, every opinion is valid, except if you think.
New and fresh stories cannot be told with common story tropes.
Ooh, good one.
Hey,
Yes.
why not?
Both
Makes
of our-
sense, though.
It does. Both of our movies this week certainly
Yes,
embody
indeed.
that. Nicely done.
Absolutely do. Yeah.
Awesome.
I really enjoyed this episode. I'm excited for next week's episode because as much as I do love Halloween and Thanksgiving, I fucking love Christmas. So I'm very, very excited to get into our Christmas theme holiday deep dive.
Nice. Me too. And until then, bye-bye, everybody.
Cheers.